In 1993, Kia introduced its new model called the Cephia. However, Korean engineers did not reinvent the wheel and created it on the Mazda 323 platform. Of course, it was done under a license agreement, and there was no smell of plagiarism here. Shuma is just a modification of this model. Cephia is a sedan, and Shuma is a 5-door hatchback. The answer to the question why the Koreans gave the car a completely different name. Simple. In 1997, when the debut of Shuma took place, Kia was in a serious crisis and therefore used every opportunity to once again declare itself. And in order to separate the different versions on the market even more, the design of the cars was also made as different as possible. When the model first appeared on the market, its dimensions were quite drawn to belonging to the D segment, but in terms of the line of power units, Shuma was initially still closer to the Golf class. Now, when the inhabitants of segment C have grown up, and even more so. The metal of the body is quite decent, and even on copies of the first years of production it is problematic to find rust, with the exception of unscrupulously restored post-accidents. The quality of the paintwork is at a decent level, and the slopes that inevitably appear on any car are in no hurry to turn into pockets of corrosion. So long. Cyan is made of inexpensive, but pleasant to the touch and forked plastic. The parts fit well and do not annoy with squeaks. True, after a few years, extraneous noise may still appear. The chairs are upholstered in a nice and durable velour, but sometimes there are also leather versions. By the way, in the velour version, the steering wheel and the knob of the gear knob can be trimmed with genuine leather. Shuma's cabin is spacious. A 2-meter driver will be able to get comfortable, because the steering column is adjustable in height, and the seat, in addition to the usual settings, can change the angle of the pillow. And even on the back sofa, 3 moderately tall passengers will not feel uncomfortable. The capacity of the trunk is at the level of most classmates, but the height of the lower edge of the opening is too big, which makes loading and unloading difficult. For transporting bulky items, the rear seat can be folded in parts. In the basic configuration, the car is equipped with power steering, immobilizer, central locking and minimal electrical accessories, glasses, mirrors, while the vast majority also has air conditioning. But airbags and ABS are rare, especially on pre-styling copies. Brake mechanisms can be either fully disc or with rear drums. The internal disadvantages include the following. The sound insulation of the cabin is rather mediocre and you can clearly hear the engine, the sound of small stones on the bottom, and even the noise from standard Hankook tires, which, by the way, are far from ideal. Also, many owners really do not like the poor rear visibility, and the spherical mirrors installed on the car do not correct the situation. There is one more small reason for dissatisfaction. Despite the fact that the heating and ventilation system is quite effective, it is not always possible to ensure that the side windows do not sweat and at the same time that the passengers are not hot. Probably, knowing about the state of our roads, the concern's engineers installed a rubber seal around the perimeter of the hood to protect the engine compartment from dirt and a plastic casing from below. So, having flown into a deep puddle at full speed, the driver has many chances not to wait later for the moment when the electrician dries out. Speaking of electrics, most likely, due to the young age of the model, it does not create problems, and the main complaints are associated with burnt-out light bulbs. Engine. 3 petrol 4-cylinder engines of 1.5 liters, 80 or 88 horsepower, were installed on the model. 1.6L, 102 horsepower. 1.8L, 114 horsepower. All of them are licensed 16-valve Mazda units developed in the late 80s. Equipped with distributed fuel injection. There were no complaints about their mechanical part, mainly the control electronics causes complaints. So, many owners were faced with the fact that a car equipped with a 1.6-liter engine did not start well, and also responded with failures when the gas pedal was pressed sharply. This trouble was typical for Russian copies and arose due to the wrong firmware of the engine control unit. After the new software came from Korea and the leaders reprogrammed the unit for free, this defect was a thing of the past. In general, the motors are quite reliable, but it's hard to call them economical. Fuel consumption in urban conditions is 10 to 11 liters of gasoline, and this figure is practically independent of the engine displacement. And considering that the volume of the fuel tank is only 50 liters, we can say that the car does not have a large power reserve. Transmission. Paired with motors, a 5-speed manual and a 4-band automatic were installed on fresh cars with electronic control. There are no defects as such during normal operation for these units, but on the mechanics, many people do not like the long strokes of the shift lever. In addition, it is sometimes difficult to engage reverse gear. Suspension. The car is equipped with fully independent suspension of all wheels. The front is McPherson, and the rear is a combination of a cross beam and two trailing arms. And there are anti-roll bars. In general, the suspension can be described as rather rigid, while transmitting small potholes to the body, but at the same time easily swallowing large pits. The positive aspects include small body rolls and corners, good feedback on the steering wheel, and adequate reactions to driver actions. In short, the model borrowed all the advantages of the running gear from the popular ancestor, that is, the Mazda 323. The costs of maintaining the suspensions in good condition are small. With a reasonable mode of operation, repair work has to be carried out no more often than after 30 to 40,000 kilometers. At this turn, the turn of the anti-roll bars usually comes. At the same time, the hub bearings can fail. The shock absorbers also do not differ in durability, and if they have expired, then the servicemen recommend installing not native Korean ones, but something from a well-known European manufacturer. A big plus for our conditions is the ground clearance, comparable to the Ziguli, which allows you to drive on broken roads without any problems. The only pity is that the pretty full-time hard plastic mudguards literally break into pieces from hitting stones or during unsuccessful parking. Steering. The tie rods and the rack itself are quite durable. However, when purchasing a car with high mileage, it is worth checking the gearbox for the absence of backlash and associated tiling knocks. Otherwise, in the foreseeable future, it will have to be changed, which is quite expensive. Almost all copies currently offered on the secondary market have been running around our expanses since their birth. Of course, domestic operation is by no means sugar, but since almost all cars were sold by official dealers and had a 3-year warranty, now increased to 5 years, finding a decent car is not difficult. In addition, it is very easy to check his entire biography by TCP and service book, unlike foreign cars, the past of which is shrouded in darkness. There are no problems with servicing this car, and even on the periphery you can always find a master who knows from which side to approach the car. The cost of spare parts is moderate, about the same as that of the most inexpensive Europeans. In general, this is a very good model, and although it did not become a bestseller, a lot of Shuma runs on our roads, which is explained by the good ratio of price, consumer characteristics, and quality. Plus, it's almost zero stealing. If you find a copy with low mileage and from a caring owner, then this will be a good and very affordable option, because unlike many eminent classmates, the model quickly loses life and foam in 3 or 4 goals. True, then this fall becomes not so significant.